Well, hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Brian Kelly, CEO of the Small Business Association of Michigan, and welcome. If you're watching live, we're gonna cover a lot of information. We'll take some questions at the end. And if you're watching the recording that we'll send out to all the nominees afterward, please do feel free to reach out uh, to us. We'll get some instructions on how to do that if you have any additional questions. Thank you so much for attending today. What we're really aiming to do here with the awards program and the Michigan Celebrate Small Business Coalition of Organizations is to truly celebrate you, entrepreneurs, small businesses. The main infrastructure of the economic of Michigan's economic strength lies with small businesses, and it's so true and clear in economic statistics how important it is. But you don't really need statistics. You can look at any single community across our state, from the biggest of communities to the smallest, and you'll see that it is absolutely dominated by small businesses. We've been doing this for now over 20 years. The Small Business Association of Michigan, along with the original partners, that many of them are still connected with this event, the Small Business Development Center, Michigan Business Network, the Edward Lowe Foundation, Michigan Economic Development Corporation, those that were involved in the very beginning, and this coalition has now gotten much bigger. You can tell what a society values according to what it celebrates. And that's what this is all about. Celebrate small businesses, entrepreneurs, the ones that make so much happen in our communities. And this 50 companies to watch and all of the other awards that come along with this program is meant to lift up, elevate, spotlight the role that you play. And to truly celebrate it. You'll see now a much bigger organizational support around this event on your screen right now. And that as I mentioned before, Edward Lowe Foundation and the Small Business Development Center still very much a part of it, and of course SBAM that I work with. But you'll see organizations for people that have disabilities and veterans, the National Veterans, Michigan Rehabilitation Services, along with the West Michigan Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the Connexus Group, the Michigan Black Business Alliance. This is such an awesome collection of organizations that touch literally every part of our state that work together in making this happen. We want to give you an idea of what it means to be nominated, how to get through the process, but also why it's worth it to complete the application to be considered for one of these awards. It's like the Academy Awards for small businesses. This is it's a big deal to even get nominated, but then also an even bigger deal to win. And it's hard to describe. We're going to share with you some images and some descriptions throughout, but it's it's a literal red carpet event, and it is held at the Breslin Center at Michigan State University each year. So if you're a Spartan, it's a really big deal, and even if you're not a Spartan, they we take over the whole Breslin Center. It's a huge event, and it's awesome to be a part of it. So if you do have questions as we go along, please do just drop them in the chat, and we'll get to them as we go along. And then also for those watching the recording, please email us. We'll give you some instructions later um, on how to do that. So I'm going to turn it over now to get into the nitty-gritty of the process and the awards categories to Kelly Saunders, Vice President of Policy Engagement here at SBAM.
Well, thanks, Brian. And to those of you joining us today, congratulations on your nomination. Also, if you are part of one of those support organizations and you're on today, thank you for your partnership. We certainly cannot do it unless we are all together. Would also like to take just a second to thank our sponsor for today's webinar, which is Maynard Casterison, and we will hear from them in just a few minutes. We have numerous awards that are recognized at the gala itself, but also we run a summit the day beforehand, which is like a business summit, if you will, where awardees do get the chance to come together with the small business community all together, and then the support organizations that Brian mentioned before and other sponsors that really care about the small business community. So we look at this as like a 2-day conference for small business owners to step away from their business to either be recognized through the awards program, but also to connect with their peers. And so the award categories are vast. We take those 2 days to celebrate them. We want people to get to know Michigan Celebrates Small Business, and we do that through the awards process, but also have the chance to come together from this business portion of our time together as well. So for the award category portion, the Michigan Small Business Development Center has their Best in Small Business category, and those are 11 awardees that are chosen from the regional centers around the state of Michigan. There's not an actual judging process for those, they are chosen by the SBDC themselves. And then we have specialty award categories with Veteran Owned Small Business of the Year awards, Minority Owned Small Business of the Year, Women Owned Small Business of the Year, Micro Business, and Disability Owned. The micro business and the disability owned categories were added last year as their inaugural year, and they were so successful that we are obviously carrying them into the future. We had more veteran, minority, and women owned awardees than we ever have last year. And we can already see from the nominees that are coming in this year that we're going to have more than we had in the previous years, which is great. And so those are just a few of our awards. And then we obviously have the Michigan 50 Companies to Watch Award. These are the 50 companies that are identified in the next year to watch as breakout, standout years for those respective small businesses. And then we also look back and we have the Michigan 50 Distinguished Alumni category. There are 2 awards in that specific category, strategically focused and great place to work. And these are also seeing record amounts of nominations from previous years, which is really exciting. Let's talk a little bit about the process and the timeline for the awards. So the Best in Small Business SBDC awards that we talked about first, they're notified immediately and have been already chosen. And so they know that their awards are coming for next year. For the Michigan 50, the Distinguished Alumni categories, women owned, minority owned, micro owned, disability owned, and veteran owned, that application deadline is October 31st to be considered for judging. And so if you are a nominee on this webinar today, or maybe listening to this later, you need to make sure that you get your application in by this Friday so that you can be considered for judging. A nomination is not an automatic consideration for the award. There is a pretty extenuating application process so that we can get to know your company and consider you for the various awards that you've been nominated for. So please make sure that you are referencing the email that you should have received that you are nominated to go through the process. Or you can contact info@michigancelebrates.org and we'd be happy to walk you through that process. What's the timeline look like for Michigan Celebrates? So a company is nominated and then the application is completed. There are 2 rounds of judging. There's a first round of judging. There's about 30 to 40 judges that are assigned the award application, and 3 judges in that first round judging are assigned to your application. And then the aggregate is taken and it's matched up against the others in the category. And then based on the baseline, they'll be advanced to final round judging. Final round judging is by someone of the advisory committee members, one person specifically out of each of those that are all reviewed for those various categories. Companies are notified if they are not a finalist in January. Finalists are notified of their status also in January. And then the due diligence process that we're going to go over in a few minutes also happens in January. Companies will formally accept their award at the end of January or beginning of February. And we do have a media embargo that is placed on those that win until that's lifted in February when we make the announcement. I do want to note too that if you were nominated for another award category when it comes to the veteran, disability, minority, and women owned, that your application will be considered also for the Michigan 50 award if you meet criteria. So now I'm going to invite Tim Bagrakos from Maynard Costerison to come in and talk to us a little bit about their role in the due diligence process for Michigan Celebrates Small Business. So Tim, thank you again to Maynard for being a sponsor for this nominee webinar. And can you give us a little bit of background on who Maynard is and why you find it important to engage in the Michigan Celebrates Small Business program?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Kelly. Afternoon, everybody. So, Maynard Costerison, we are a full-service public accounting, technology, business consulting firm here in the Lansing area. We've been here for over 100 years at this point, creeping up closer to 120 years. And it's been important for us to be a part of this program and this awards because small businesses, mid-sized businesses have been so instrumental for us over our entire business lifespan. I think I froze. Did I freeze? Can you hear me still?
We can hear you, but just can't see us.
All
So
right.
I'd say keep
Yeah.
on going.
All right, cool, perfect. I'm gonna just take my camera off. Maybe that'll. So, as I was saying, small businesses have been an important part of our history and our lifespan as a business, and we know the importance they play not only in our state but kind of on our global economy. And for us, it boils down to the mission of our firm. Is to help others reach their full potential, and so being a part of things like this and watching the great work that small and mid-sized businesses are doing on our state is really fun and it's exciting for us as a firm.
So can you talk to us about why a due diligence process is so important to a program like this?
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, I mean, the diligence process really reinforces the premier status of this event and the Michigan 50 designation. We want to make sure that we're continuing to lend credibility to all the awardees across the board, and really reflect the impact and of what this award program really is.
Can you talk about what a due diligence process actually is when it comes to a program like this?
Yeah, so it's verifying key pieces of information about the about organizations, everything from financial stability, Michigan-based headquarters, looking into any if there are red flags. Examples would be liens or tax debt, and just continuing to Google search on the nominees and like I said, verifying the information. And just the goal is to kind of maintain the credibility and the fairness of the awards program as a whole, and by doing our best look into each of the companies involved.
A lot of questions we have, Tim, in this process. We talk about how judges have to sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements.
Yep.
Can you talk about what those are within your respective company and what it means when you sign an NDA? What does that mean to Maynard when you engage with us like that?
Yeah,
With
it's
folks that
we
work
take
at
it
Go ahead.
it's very important to us, and we have a limited team, limited number of people who are involved from an access standpoint to applications and being able to see the information. We understand that there is a lot of important data points that are getting put into and being shared, and so we put the highest emphasis on remaining highly confidential, limiting from a standpoint of who's going to see and have access to it, and making sure that only the right people are viewing those data sets.
So if you find something that might be a red flag,
Mhm.
can you talk about how Maynard might reach out to an applicant in order to clarify something? What does that interaction look like?
Yeah, I mean, from ours, we would reach out and just look to have a conversation just to get some clarification around things. Same thing, it would remain a confidential conversation. Just the necessary people that are working on it would be involved with it. And we still like to work on a face-to-face or phone call standpoint for the verification. So we wouldn't be asking for sensitive information to be shared in any other way than through a secure portal that we work with all of our clients or through discussion.
Well, thanks, Tim. I think that's all the questions I have on this piece, but such an important piece to our process and making sure that we're awarding companies with all the information that we need in order to set everybody up for success. So appreciate it.
Thanks, Kelly.
All right, very good. Thank you, Kelly and Tim Bograkis, Maynard Christerison. Thank you for the discussion. Hopefully, again, if any questions, put them in the chat. Now I'd like to turn it over to Dan Wyant, who leads the Edward Lowe Foundation. It's what's a foundation that exists for entrepreneurs, and a lot of people don't. If you might not be familiar with the name Edward Lowe, he was an inventor and an amazing part of Michigan's entrepreneurial heritage. The inventor of kitty litter. I mean, cars were made in Michigan. Did you know that this is the birthplace of kitty litter as well? But the Edward Lowe Foundation, Edward Lowe left behind a foundation that is focused on entrepreneurs, and they do great work. They were there for the beginning of this program over 20 years ago. Michigan celebrates small business and remain one of the most committed members today. Dan, take it away.
All right, thanks. Ed Lowe would say, "Hail entrepreneur." I want to start by congratulating all of you who were nominated. Ed also said this is a big deal, and it really is a big deal. I want to recognize Brian, you and your team, and I want to recognize the advisory committee that's been put together. SBAM, the advisory committee, all of us who have been doing this for a number of years, some of us 22 years to think. But this program has really grown and it's gotten bigger and better. And it's so much fun to be part of this, to recognize the best and brightest. And I want to underline a couple of things that have already been said, but it's really important. This is a big deal for you that have been nominated. It's a wonderful event, and it is, I believe, from my experience, the premier small business event, not only in Michigan, which it is, but also in the country. We get the governor, we get a lot of legislators and other decision makers to come. And it's just a wonderful affirmation of the value and importance of small business. Specifically, I think it's an affirmation of all the hard work all of you on this call have put in. And it not only showcases what you mean to your community, region, and state, it showcases, I think, to your team, what has been going on, because generally, the stories I hear, nose to the grindstone, head down, not really realizing that what you're doing is significant, and it is. And so it's really neat to be part of that. And so look forward to another wonderful event. I'm very proud of the collaboration. This event's for the state of Michigan. It's not owned by any one group. Brian, you and your team are providing tremendous leadership, and I can guarantee you the event that's going to come this year will be the best and biggest and brightest that we've ever had. So this is a good year to be part of it. And so I'm excited about that. But I want to talk about what it means to you as a company. And, I'm going to get a little help to do that. Being nominated, you, again, feel free to share that you've been nominated. Be proud of that. It's a big deal. Know that Kelly said, though, if you win, you have to keep it secret until February, so we can do the due diligence and properly then kick this off with a pretty significant press campaign where you'll get a lot of recognition. So winners, the whole purpose of winning not only is to be recognized, but the goal is to have some wraparound services that go along with this event. So you'll hear more about that as time goes on. But I have a very special guest to share a bit of a testimonial on how she found the value in the award that was won last year. And with me is Heather Esch from LKF Marketing. Heather, great to have you on, a Michigan company to watch winner. And introduce yourself, a little bit about your background, and we'll get into what this award meant to you.
Thanks, Dan. Our company, LKF Marketing, has been in Kalamazoo. We are now in our pushing 37th year of business. I became the owner 9 years ago we're a full service marketing communications firm doing all of the things from strategy to graphic design, web development, social media, um, content development, all of that. Primarily for B2B companies and some economic development, and then a little bit of state work for the Department of Ag. So love what we do, and it truly was an honor to be named 50 companies to watch.
Yeah, I want to ask you about your experience, Heather, and I guess start with how you were nominated, and for you, what was the process like to get that application together, get it in on time?
I'm not really sure who nominated me, but I wasn't really taking it all that serious. I think it may have been Kelly Saunders that kind of quietly nudged me and said, "Where's your application? You've been nominated." Um, so I did take the time to get the application filled out, and I think that during that time, what stood out to me is that it forced me to take a few minutes and really reflect on the growth and the accomplishment that we've had in the past 9 years, and also taking time to think about what we've overcome. And, we've lived through COVID and a lot of crazy things. And so even if we wouldn't have been recognized, just taking the time to go through that and pull all the details together, for me personally, felt like uh rewarding, I guess, even if we didn't win. So, and it really wasn't, a big, I mean, it takes time to get the application filled out, but it was a worthwhile experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I love what you said there. A couple of things that I want to just highlight. One, you never know who nominates you sometimes. I mean, sometimes you can self-nominate, sometimes friends nominate you, sometimes associations do. So no, those on this call, you may not know how you got nominated. So that's fair. Two, I love that piece about you filled it out and you learned something about yourself and you felt good about it, even if you didn't win. And then I guess lastly, some people might be intimidated by the nomination process, the application, but don't be. At the end of the day, speak to this, if you will. Next question. Yeah, you won. How did you and your team react, and what was some of the outcomes of that recognition?
The first thing I did was invite my leadership team to be there to accept the award. They were instrumental, I believe, in helping grow our team over the past 9 years. I have worked at LKF for 27 years. But when I took over as owner, um, kind of pulling together a really strategically picked leadership team, and really focusing on what was next, the next 10 years. What does that look like? So it was really an honor to be able to share that with them, as well as our internal team. But it was a really fun evening to be with them at dinner and walk down the red carpet. And that is not my normal go-to. I
Yeah.
like helping other companies get in the spotlight. I'm not usually the one that loves to be in the spotlight.
Yeah. So you took your team to the Breslin as part of the gala, and everybody experienced it together.
Yeah, it was great.
Awesome. Were there any other services that came along with the recognition, or were you able to leverage the recognition after the event in any way?
We did take advantage of using the award in our social media, a lot of our content development. I believe that it has been really instrumental in team health. There was a lot of excitement around that and being recognized. Also, I think there's an external component as we have been in growth mode, trying to recruit new members to our team. I think that that just added another layer of credibility. We are very involved in SBAM and access a lot of the services. I was signed up to participate in the Edward Lowe opportunities for leaders, and I was unable to attend because go figure, I had a business thing that I needed to do.
Yeah, it happens. But your point is, I think there are a number of wraparound services. We call them wraparound services. Edward Lowe Foundation offers a retreat to winners of 50 companies and those that qualify as second stage companies. There are all the partners in this advisory are there to uplift and support the winners. And so there'll be a lot of opportunities to network with the advisory committee members that are there to support these companies after they win. And we really encourage you to take advantage of that. Heather, I guess I'd ask you, I'll let you close with the open-ended question. Tell the group why they should apply and what's the biggest impact it had for you and your company.
I think you should absolutely apply because you can't win unless you apply. So you got to do that work. And I think that as small business owners, I think sometimes we are going so fast looking to the next thing that we have to get done that we don't take the appropriate amount of time to celebrate the successes. And we even talked about that as a leadership team of being able to have that whole evening together and reflect on what we had accomplished. It just was exciting. And we really forced ourselves to celebrate internally with our team. And then we moved on. And I can't tell you how many people in the business community were congratulating us and posting on our social. And that was just really wonderful and a good reminder that we should always take time to celebrate the wins before we move on to the next great thing.
Great. Hey, Heather, thanks for sharing your experience.
No, thank you. It was great.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Heather. And I think now we're just going to get into some Q&A. And we'll start out, I'll maybe throw some questions, Kelly, your way, some common questions that we get or some other questions that have been asked before the seminar today. And again, if you have any others, please put them in the chat. So information goes into the application and maybe some information that might be sensitive. How is that protected, Kelly?
Much like Maynard had described, Tim from Maynard had described, we have our judges sign NDAs as well, and we hold people accountable to that system. The application system is 100% protected through a company we use called Rhythm, and then folks that have access to those applications have to sign NDAs themselves. And so that is kept on record. We take it very seriously. And we make sure that the people signed up to do the judging in the first and the final round also sign those NDAs, because we know that sharing that type of information is very private for you, and we hold people accountable. And so we conduct ourselves just the way that the professional accountants at Maynard do as well.
Okay, excellent. So, and then NDA stands for non-disclosure agreement. So it is a legally binding, like literal signature contract agreement where any of the judges who select the winners have signed those non-disclosure agreements. Okay. What about if you're nominated for multiple awards? Can you apply for multiple awards? Can you win multiple awards?
You sure can. We do not put a limit on how many awards you can apply for. The only caveat I will put on that is make sure that you go to michigancelebrates.org and you review the criteria, because you do have to meet criteria in order to be considered for the various awards. And all awards do have varying criteria. So please make sure that when you are applying for those awards that you have checked that out, and that's very easily accessible. MichiganCelebrates.org, visit the awards section, and that is all laid out for you very directly.
Got a question that just came in. The first page of the application there's some confusion around whose information goes in that. It's not clear if it's supposed to be the company that nominated or the company that was that is receiving the nomination.
It would be the company that is receiving the nomination. And so I just want to make it clear that nominations have closed. So the application is for the applicant. And so we should be receiving the information for you as the company that is being considered for the award.
Okay. And then there you had mentioned earlier there were some other events that happen around the award. You get the award. Tell us about the nature of the summit the day before, and then the day of the actual gala, what that's like, and I gather there's actually additional events on that morning as well of the gala. So kind of two action-packed days.
Yes, we have 4 events in 2 days, so it is very action-packed. That first day, April 21st, we will be at the Kellogg Center and we kick off with a luncheon. Registration begins around 11 o'clock and then the luncheon around noon. We usually have a keynote speaker or some sort of panel presentation during lunch. And then in the afternoon, we head into breakout sessions where you will be able to consume content that is applicable to small businesses. So it could be about branding, it could be about succession planning. There'll be numerous members of the advisory committee that have certain expertise in how to grow your small business or maybe to troubleshoot an issue you may be having. And so we do 3 to 4 sessions of breakout sessions, varied amongst all those various times that you'll be able to choose from. And so that is the core part of that day. At the end of that day, we have a VIP reception that is technically for awardees, but we invite everyone to come in from the small business community. And it's a celebration of the awardees, but also of the small business community as a whole. And then the next day in the morning, we offer a capital tour experience, but also almost like an advocacy day. And that will be held in downtown Lansing. Get to meet and greet with some of the leaders in the legislature at this time. Many of you have not visited the Capitol since you were in elementary school, so it's a revisit to that. But also, how do you advocate for yourself as a small business in the legislative process? We're going to kind of pull back the curtain on that and offer you the ability to get to know those folks, but also a visit to the House of Representatives floor, which not very many people get the opportunity to step foot on the floor of the House of Representatives. And then we have a break in the afternoon, and that evening is when we go to the Breslin Center at MSU for our big black tie gala, which we call Small Business Prom. It's a really good time. We'll have a little bit of a reception up on the concourse. We head down to the floor. We have the whole floor, and it's a whole production and a show. Usually the governor does join us, as Dan mentioned before, but we have various programming throughout the time, and the awardees will then walk the red carpet and receive their award. So it's 2 packed full days. You'll be able to choose what maybe you can and cannot participate in, as we understand not everybody can do those 2 full days, but we do offer the opportunity for people to engage with us at a very high level throughout those 2 days.
Okay, now there's judging, which in judges sign NDAs, but who are these judges?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, part of the judges are obviously the advisory committee organizations that we talked about previous. We also have the founding organizations of Michigan Celebrates that participate as well. And then we go out and work with other service organizations that have expertise in those various award categories, whether it's micro, disability, women owned, and ask them to volunteer and judge these applications. So it's not one specific kind of judge. We look at all the categories, find those service organizations that have expertise in it, invite them in to volunteer. And I want to be clear, every single judge is a volunteer. We do not pay our judges. They come in with a heart and a love for small business, and they volunteer their time and their expertise in order to pick our awardees every year.
All right, and so all these events, who can attend the events?
everyone who supports the small business community, but specifically owners of small businesses. That's who this is for, but also organizations, sponsors that support small business, service organizations that support small business. This is about the small business community. And so while we are very focused on the owners of our small businesses, this is also a time for those that support the small business community to come in and be with them as well. So yeah, registration is broad in nature, but we definitely focus on the small business owner and providing that peer-to-peer connection those 2 days.
So we talked about timeline earlier. Maybe you could refresh our memory. So we've got nominees need to have their application in by the end of the month. And then there'll be judging, there'll be selection, and then registration for these Michigan Celebrates small business events. Just run through the timeline for us, please.
Sure. So application period closes on Friday of this week, Halloween, and that's not a joke, October 31st. So no trick or treat. This is like truly you need to get your applications in. Judging will begin for the first round mid-November till the end of November. And then that data will be deduced, and then applications will be moved forward to final round of judging in December, which will happen to the first part to mid-December. Once that final round judging is completed, we will do a final collaboration to advance the winners or the chosen winners through the due diligence process. Once the due diligence process happens end of December, beginning of January, the outreach will occur to those that were chosen as winners. So you have to formally accept your award. And then there will be a media embargo on those awardees through the end of January, where then we will make a public announcement. We like to be a little loose because there might be some follow-up that needs to be done end of January, beginning of February. And then once the formal announcement is made, then registration will open at the end of January, beginning of February. So that is the timeline from start to finish.
All right, let's talk some stats. What's the field look like in terms of nominations and what would we, and how does that maybe stack up to previous years?
Sure, we're really excited. We did go with a new software company this year that allowed people to make nominations across the award categories in a much more efficient way. And so we received 1,110 nominations across all award categories this year. To give some perspective, last year we had just short of 700, so we blew it out of the water. Thank you to so many of those of you that were nominated and then were nominated. It's been impressive. And so we couldn't be more thrilled to see people be nominated across all categories. It's about 728 unique companies when it comes to those nominations, which again is impressive and we're excited about. And then we really usually see a return of applications in the 200 to 300 mark, and we are easily going to get to that. So please make sure to fill out those applications. It's a wide pool, but that just shows the value of the award that Dan talked about, that people really want these awards, and we certainly want you to compete for them. So please make sure to fill out your application.
Probably the hardest part of the application are the narrative sections where you're telling your story. Maybe touch on how important that is.
Yeah, I mean, we know this in the small business community, especially from owners. You telling your story is your strongest and your best um, narrative to give, and nobody can give it like you. So while there definitely are metrics that people are looking at, showing your heart and telling your story about why your small business, provides an impact to your community, why it's a breakout year, why you love your team so much, and why your business is successful because of those things is so important. As judges sort through the application itself, they want to get to know you so that they know how you're impacting your community and how much value you find in what you do. So while it may be really difficult sometimes to put it in 200 words inside a text box, We encourage you to do that to show your heart of who you are and why you got into business in whatever industry that you're working in, because that does matter to the judges that are reviewing those applications.
All right, that's what we have for questions. If there are additional questions, including if you're watching a recording of this after the fact, please email us at info@michigancelebrates.org. You'll see it up on the slide now, info@michigancelebrates.org, and we will answer those questions post haste. Please do consider getting your application, completing the application, and doing so on or before October 31st. So there'll be a few more reminders that we send out between now and then, but I promise you, it's hard to describe. I always think we put this on to tell you what to expect. Until you've experienced it, you don't realize how big a deal it is when you walk in there, and it's like the Academy Awards for small businesses, and there's a lot of celebration around it, and but it's the sort of thing where it keeps on providing return to your company long after the gala evening. Thank you so much for being a part of this, and good luck on getting an award this year.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great afternoon.